So today we're going to look at the guitar solo by Steve Lukather on the song Rosanna. We'll look at guitar solo number 1 and then number 2 that he does during the outro of the song, and there'll be some theory and analysis thrown in there as well. So let's get started. So this guitar solo is based in the key of F. There's an F power chord that lasts for the first 3 measures of the solo, and Steve Lukather outlines the F major triad to fit perfectly. He starts on the F, the root, and he ascends to the A, which is the major third of F. So again, there we have the root followed by the second, the G, and then ending on the major third, the A. He then continues this idea, outlining an F major triad with an ascending line, very similar to what he just played. Sounds like this. Starts on C, the 5th of F, going to the root again, C to G, and then F, G being played or bent up to an A. Sounds like this. You can hear the similarity between the two phrases. He then starts to come away from that idea using his pinky during the bend to raise the note to a B flat, and then playing a blues lick to finish it on F, the root of the chord. It sounds like this. I'll play that one more time. The next phrase is an ascending scale. Looking at it, it's kind of based on a D Aeolian mode, but do bear in mind that the D Aeolian mode is just a 6th degree of the F major scale, so it's still F major tonality, but as a guitar player, when I see this shape, I automatically think of the Aeolian. Sounds like this. There is a note there that's not part of the scale, and that's the A flat that he plays at fret 9, and he slides into the A at fret 10. Again, if you're thinking of the D minor shape, that would be considered as the blues scale, as the flatted 5th. But he very quickly passes through that. Now the next phrase, the chord actually changes from an F to an E flat power chord. He replays the F, bending it to a G, which is the major third of the E flat, which fits perfectly. And then he ends a phrase playing F to G, again the major third, and F to G again. And coming from the previous phrase, now this is the last measure of the guitar solo. The chord goes from an E flat to a D power chord, and he plays the G, bending it up to an A, which is the 5th of a D chord. And it sounds like this. Once again, he's using his pinky, just as he'd done in the previous phrase. Remember he'd done this? It was exactly the same phrase, an octave higher. So So this solo is a great example of taking an idea and then reusing it as a variation, maybe an octave higher, piecing it all together. Variation, an octave higher. Nice little triplet run. Couple of bends, hinting at the major third of E flat. And then bringing in that phrase that he played earlier, an octave higher. Okay, so now we're going to look at solo number 2, which is played during the outro of this song. This isn't in F major tonality anymore, it's based around G7. And Steve starts this solo with a great little bluesy lick. Sounds like this. Now there he's playing E, which is the interval of a sixth of the G7, bending it up a semitone to the minor seventh, the F, bringing it back down, and then releasing it to note D, and then we're going to C, back to D. On string 2, we play B flat, which is a minor third, which doesn't work, but then you bend it a semitone to B natural, which is the major third, and then ending on the root, the G. Now this area is my preference, is where I would like to play that phrase, but he could be playing it here. And that's why I think it's important when you learn a phrase that you like the sound of is to learn where else you can play it on the guitar. See, as I said, I play it here. And there I'm thinking of like the G minor pentatonic shape position 4, where there's a couple of notes that aren't part of it, and as I said, that's notes E, the sixth, and then later we have B flat, which isn't part of the actual chord, but again you bend it up to the major third. Very common blues rock lick, kind of switching between the minor and major third of the chord. You could play it here. This would be thinking of G minor pentatonic position 1, again with a couple of notes that aren't part of it. But learning the notes of the guitar really does open up the fretboard for other possibilities. I mean, I could play the exact same shape, exact same notes here. I would never play it there because it's uncomfortable and the tone isn't really that good. But I know it's there. I can play it on one string. But then also I can play it an octave lower. Or here, or even lower, and that's beneficial when it comes to your own improvisation. It's a great technical exercise to learn someone else's guitar solo, but then you want to take something from that so you can actually use it in your own improvisations. So that's one thing I recommend. If you hear a phrase or a lick that really catches your ear, play it elsewhere on the guitar, whether it's the same pitch, just in a different area, or an octave lower, or even an octave high. If I had a 24 fret guitar, then I could actually play it higher up as well. Okay, so back to the solo. The next phrase, he actually crescendos or does a volume swell on the bend. Now, here, I'm playing fret 15 on string 2 and then alternating between fret 12 of string 1, so that is a D and an E. But he's playing the D and bending it up to the E, so you get kind of like a unison, D to E, and then picking the E. And then he ends on fret 17, which is note E, bending it up. Exactly what he'd done with the first phrase of this solo, So he done this, the first phrase. There's that E bending it up to the F. Well, that's exactly what's going on here. E bending to F, or the interval was sixth being bent up to the minor seventh, the F. Now the next phrase is in the G minor position 1 shape. Sounds like this. Typical blues lick. It sounds great. But then he does something different. He's still in that same area, but this is phrase 4. Have a listen to this. Okay, one more time. Again, big bends. Sound great. Okay, so the next phrase is a bit more technical, playing less pentatonic and more kind of modal. Sounds like this. And it's a triplet rhythm. To me, again, shape-wise, when I look at this shape, I'm thinking of Phrygian, which would then produce a G Dorian mode, which is minor, but that can be used over a G7, especially when it's a fast run. I mean, the only note, when you think of Dorian mode over a G7, the only note that doesn't really work is the B flat, which is a minor third. But again, this phrase is played so quickly, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so the next phrase is hinting at the ascending scale that he played in the very first solo. Looks like this. So here, I'm thinking of the D Aeolian shape. And it's very, very similar. If I play it a bit slower. At this point, it does this nice little chromatic pull-off. The interesting note here is the way he kind of does a pre-bend. He takes note A and kind of pushes it up to B flat and then brings it back down. Problem is, it's a little bit tricky finger-wise when you're playing the D fret 10, and you've got to kind of come over to the A on fret 10 of string 2, but then push it up. It can very easily slip under your finger. Now, the next phrase, he's kind of playing an F and a B flat. Over the G7 chord. I mean, the F is the minor third, and the B flat's the F is the minor seventh, and the B flat is the minor third. Very quickly played, alternating between them. Now you could count how many times he plays that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he changes to the C. But that's too difficult. I just play as quick as I can, and then just it's more about the feel of it than anything. Again, kind of ending it on a very bluesy phrase. Again, thinking of the G minor position 4 kind of pentatonic shape. Ending it on the G, the root again. Now the next phrase is in that same position, same area, plays these very quick kind of Chuck Berry bends. So he's playing the C, bending it up to the D, and then picking the D on the next string. Now again, you could count how many times he picks that, but I just pick it as best I can. And then the last couple of picks, he kind of moves up 2 frets to fret 15 that he bends, and then picking the fret 12. So, and then he goes even further and then plays the 17 fret, which is E, bending it up a semitone to F, which we've seen twice before in his in this second solo. Kind of tricky sometimes, that transition is so quick. Sometimes it's very easy just to not quite make it. And then that brings into the minor pentatonic position 1, G minor pentatonic position 1, the shape that all guitarists are really very comfortable with. Continuing this kind of Chuck Berry bend. And then he finishes it with a flourish of notes. Now, in the solo that I done to this, I just busked that last bit. It's so quickly played. I just thought go for more of the feel of it rather than, you know, getting it exact note for note. It's so quickly played. I done something like that. But if you want to get it exact, and it's kind of hard to hear because it is fading out at that point. So that's what I done. Nothing's wrong with that. Anyway, I hope that this tutorial has been somewhat helpful to you. And if you got something from it, then please give us a like. That's always appreciated. Great, thank you very much.